So one of the things that I can't stand the most is how the UK gets this pass as if they say they were the first to abolish slavery. Yeah, so that's like, well, it's not entirely true because they were involved in slavery, and then when we were the colonies before we, revolted against them, they were bringing slaves here. Nobody here signed on to the Atlantic slave trade. Yet America, for most of my adult life, has been stained with this racist slavery bullshit. And most of the African slaves were being sent there to the UK and to Europe. But then they get to be on some pedestal as a country of heroes because we ended slavery. You were the people most responsible for it to begin with. And the people that aren't given any credit, because we have too many horrible Pharisees in this country. And when I say Pharisees in this case, I'm not talking about the church. I'm talking about the damn Pharisees that call themselves history scholars that have pushed this bullshit forever. And what they've also pushed is that America was never founded on Christian values. No, we have to tell the American people the worst things that are nothing but lies, because the very scholars that tell it to you went to get educated in the very racist universities that they sat their asses in, and then want to say, look at all the letters I have after my name. I'm a history expert. Yeah, by the very racist people themselves called the universities. I mean, they've always been a problem, always. Always. People like to say, oh no, they weren't always like this. That can be debated. It really can be. Again, you have to look at, Britain was controlling everything at one time, okay? And then we had Americans that said, right here, we're sick of the king. Not just religious people, but people in general. I mean, it's how God's plan was coming together. It's how God's plan was coming together to then bring America in, and then America is in the last book of the Bible. It is. It's exactly how God does it. If you read the Bible and you see how God works, it's exactly how he does it. He wanted things to fall apart when they did, because it forced the Covenanters here. Many of the Covenanters, and I talked about them recently, a lot of them were Presbyterian, okay? They would not let any person that owned slaves or supported slavery or be in their religion. And they saw the Bible itself as a religion. So I know people have cut hairs, and I've even said it myself, religion or the denominations are the problem. In some cases they are. I mean, but the fact is the Bible itself is the religion, okay? So that's how they saw it. But it is these people that pushed back on this. Okay, so when these lying universities, who do you think started these universities? Britain, okay? I mean, Harvard or Yale, I can get it confused, one of those two. That was in the colony days. That's why you never see any university ever have American pride. They have Hamas pride, which shows what a disgrace they are, which shows why any parents would want to send their children to any of these Ivy League universities. What? So you could say your child graduated from Harvard? Oh, why? Why would you want to have that stain? To me, it's a stain. I mean, it is. You could say, oh, you're just jealous. No, I'm not. I'm very, very happy that I went to a community college. Very, okay? Because then you don't have all this, we're better than everybody else attitude, okay? That's part of the problem, The Ivy Leagues, it's like, they've created, they're the Ivy Leagues are the chosen university, sort of like the chosen people. Yeah. Gets everybody in trouble. Yeah. So, that they're special in some way. I guess that's why I use the word chosen, that they're more special than the rest. Yeah. So I was listening to something today where was it? I get Eric and Brett Weinstein always confused. Was it Brett? I think it was Brett. No, it was Eric. And I'm sorry, not Weinstein. Weinstein. That's how you're supposed to say it. Eric Weinstein. You know, he's the mathematician. I think he came out of Harvard. Okay, he's just an interesting dude. But anyway, you know, he's all for we got to get off this planet and that kind of crazy. But he was in Israel recently, okay? And he was talking to them. And he brought up about the chosen people, like it's almost like, you know, it's almost like it's a curse in a way. It is. The very fact that God did it that way, it's so because I think that's what people then get resentful at, and they don't step back and they don't see that, no, but the New Testament was grafting everybody in. Yeah, that's what Jesus was doing. So, but then the chosen people know they still want to be special and chosen. Like, see, I'm fair in my criticisms. I think I'm balanced. You know, I'm not going to go all the way to the place where the hating of the Jews things. That said, then this person that was interviewing Eric Weinstein, I mean, whatever, you know who I'm talking about, said, well, the chosen because we're supposed to be the leaders of the world. Yeah, no. See, that's where you get, that's where people get upset. Okay, I like this. Yeah. So you don't step back long enough to see that, you know, there was a big falling out there, you know, when Jesus came. There was a bunch of you that still refused to recognize Jesus as the Messiah. Like, how is it that the Gentiles, who were never any chosen people, who at one time God was just having nothing, Jesus wanted nothing to do with many of them. It wasn't until later that they grafted the Gentiles in. But, how is it that the very chosen people themselves didn't recognize Jesus? So how could they have been the chosen people? You get what I'm saying? It's, you know, it's like a catch-22 God plays. That's why I said it's a dangerous trap, being the chosen people. But her initial reaction to, you know, that term coming up is, well, yes, I mean, God had chosen us. No, God didn't. No, God didn't choose you to lead the world. No. Now, you cannot blame all of Israel for somebody saying something like that, but that's what happens to the mind of the chosen people. So see, they don't reflect enough, some of that. They don't. No, not at all. So that's why America plays really huge in all of this, okay? It really does, because, well, God's raised up America. Raised America above the UK, raised America. I mean, I get it. Our Coventers, they came from Scotland, they came from the UK, they came from that area. Yep, they did. Okay, but they dusted their feet off and said, we're done with your king and your holiness and you're no more important and your royal bloodlines. And yeah, we're making a new way. And God said, yes. And they are making a covenant with me. And this will play in the very last book of the Bible. Because, see, the true people that walk with Christ knew, no, we cannot be supporting slavery. This is not good. But the colonies were under Britain at one time. We revolted. That's what the revolution was about. We were sick of the king. We were sick of the UK. We were sick of the bullshit. Okay? Again, so somehow that seems to have been lost because we've been made to listen to Pharisees, scholars, same thing. I mean, really, it just is. Okay? All these people that went to the very universities that never loved America, that never have cared about America, but you seem to worship at the crown's feet, okay? Many of them do, the Ivy Leagues most especially. But then they make us, they're shameful because then they go marching with, you know, terrorist organizations. So the thing with America is you can't say that America is necessarily, you know, we're not the oldest country, I've said before. Yet everybody wants to run around and say, we've been here the longest, we're the oldest, we're the chosen, we're the most important country. And I'm here to say, no, see, I think that God is going to prove everybody in the world wrong and say, no, see, I created America for a reason. And I used people that were fed up with all that bullshit to force them to come to America so that I would create the new covenant so that the world will know in the end who I was truly seeing as, well, Americans, let's say.